Hey everybody, I'm Gardiner, the Linux Gamer, and it's time for the judges' critiques. With me today we have Cheeseness, the handsome and illustrious Cheese. Say hi.
How you doing?
We also have Cassidy James from the Elementary OS,
Hello.
and we have Bryan Lunduke.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. You're looking a little frazzled today, Brian.
I'm doing fine.
Cool. Let's start just by talking about some of the games that stood out to us during the jam. I found, if you guys missed it, I did a 4-hour live stream where I played a whole bunch of games. I think I played every game that was submitted. And there were a few that I added to my collection for this year's Game Jam. And I think I'm going to make that public when this video goes up. But we'll start with Cheese. What was one of the games that stood out to you?
One of the games that stood out to me, the one that I've got, because like this is a super hard list to pare down. There are a lot of sort of interesting things. There are a lot of things that had potential that wasn't quite realized, but there are also a lot of things that were sort of up in the top tier there. But sitting on the top of my list right now, I think is probably Two Button Night.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Two Button Night was incredible. In terms of like overall games, and like the overall feel of a game, I felt like that probably was one of the standout titles, like in terms of overall polish.
Just sort of like visual charm to it that gave it this solid identity that you have when you sit down to play it, but also thinking about the theme and the sort of versatility of verbs or inputs, if you like. We've got 2 buttons that provide 7 actions per player, and that's pretty full on.
I thought, when I was playing that, I was really impressed by the versatility of the 2 buttons. Like you said, there were 7 actions available. And just using, I didn't get a chance to play it 2-player, which I felt would probably make it even more.
It was great.
You did, okay.
Yeah.
What was your experience playing it 2-player?
So we had a bit of a go at the menu first. Like I had a practice and learned what the controls were. Because if you just sit there and try and mash the buttons and work it out, there's too much happening for you to really get a handle on it. But after we had a chance to get familiar with the controls, it was really cool. I found though, if the game has any kind of shortcoming at all, it's that there's not enough of a delay between when an attack starts and when an attack lands for a player to feel like they can block effectively or respond effectively. It feels a little bit more like luck than anything else at that point. But that aside, it was pretty rewarding to play. I really enjoyed it. Brought back a lot of memories of playing stuff like the original Prince of Persia had this really cool sword play mechanic that had very simple controls, but it was really expressive with the way that you could move through the game and interact with the enemies during those sequences.
Nice. Yeah, I saw similarities to Nidhogg a little bit. I don't know if you've played that game, but it's you have similar kind of like parry and attack kind of methods, and it was very limited in the same kind of sense that Nidhogg is limited, but I really that one probably, like I said, the overall experience of that game felt like probably one of the most complete packages, I would say, that was entered this year.
Yeah. I like that you also, from a strategic perspective, you could do a high attack or a low attack. You could do a high defend, which wouldn't defend against a low attack, so you had to be on your toes and prepared for that. Definitely.
There was a lot of risk reward to the attacking, to the combat. Cassidy, what kind of games did you find the most appealing this time?
The one that stood out to me the most, and there's a disclaimer here, but the one that stood out to me the most was One Saga. I just something about that game. It was so freaking cute.
Yeah.
And that's the one that I actually came back to after I'd played several others, and then just played it just to play it. I was like, no, I just want to play this game. Like, this is fun. I think it could have been a little bit better with the versatile verbs. It didn't super latch onto that concept. and I had a chat. I'm trying to find it where it was, but I had a comment back and forth with the developer about how they could have, made it a little bit more versatile verby, which would also lend better for a controller, so you don't have to use a keyboard and a mouse. And they said they had tried that, but I think they just didn't have the time to really latch onto that concept. But it was just it felt super polished to me. The music and the audio was really good. The artwork was super cute. Like I said, I just wanted to come back and play it. I just wanted to keep playing.
It had a really
For
cool,
sure.
really cohesive visual style going
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
A lot of the other games didn't quite manage that. There were some bits that felt a bit out of place, but everything in Yuan's Saga was just, very tight.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually pretty cool. That was a pretty decent one. I mean, I'm a somewhat negative bastard, so most of these I look at and I just want to just start screaming expletives at them. But that one actually was pretty well put together. I mean, considering they just did it in a week, that's not bad.
Yeah,
I mean,
it felt like a much more polished, much more complete game than a lot of the others I tried. Which again, that might be swaying my opinion a little bit because it felt so cohesive. Whereas it didn't necessarily do the versatile verbs as well, but it just felt like a whole package.
I did struggle
Also,
with the mouse controls a little bit.
can we use the phrase versatile verbs about 1 billion more times because it hasn't driven me insane yet? That would be solid.
But I feel like that game could possibly be slightly improved if, when you weren't providing mouse input, that the cursor stayed relative to world coordinates rather than screen coordinates. And that way you're trying to click on a dude and you're running past it and the camera's moving past, then it stays on that and you keep clicking away and it's not you don't have to try and catch up all the time.
Yeah, I think that's part of the conversation we were having is instead of having you click randomly around the world, it would be whether you could only attack the bugs when they're on your character itself or when they're near your character or something like that. Could be a little more interesting instead of the flinging all over the place.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Juan Saga, and I think I just realized that I didn't actually play that on the stream. Which
You
is
didn't? Oh,
I don't think
geez.
so. But I know that I played it. I played it yesterday. When I was it was one of the first 8 games that was submitted. So I played it yesterday, and I actually really enjoyed it. I felt like there was kind of a disconnect between the clicking of the bugs and the rest of the mechanics. I felt like that there could be more to kind of bring that to the rest of the game.
Yeah, I feel like the whole development and shipping features thing was that all kind of gelled together pretty well, but the bugs sort of felt like a thing that was tacked on top, which as software developers, that's how bugs are, right? They're just sitting on top of the nice pristine code.
Yeah, that's true. Cool. So that was Juan Saga. I really liked that game. Brian, what game stood out to you?
Can I go in either direction? Because I got some games that really stood out to me on both sides of things. Can I list a few of them? Do I have to list just one?
Oh yeah,
you can. I don't want to feel constrained. I gotta let my flag fly, man.
Yeah,
All
we'll
right,
keep going.
With, what was it called? Where's the Cube Slide? Cube Slide is a 3D game where you're a 3D cube and you're sliding. you just slide, and you slide from this side to that side, and there's other 3D cubes. They all look the same, which is nice because I don't like variety in my life. And then you get to the other side, and then you do it again. And I liked that. It was almost like it was a metaphor for having a really dead-end 9-to-5 job, and I liked that about it. Also, wow, my toddler and my dog are just like, you need to talk to me right now. Yeah, go tell the dog to be quiet. That's right. Wear Shift was so cool looking.
Yeah,
that's the one I forgot to mention. I love the art.
Yeah,
the art was fantastic. I liked their use of levels. It really was a cool game. Clearly, so Wear Shift it's cool atmospheric pixel art, and that just really scratches my happy places very, very well.
Yeah.
And I feel like that game needs like a couple of weeks of bake time to like. What's my dog yelling at? Did you hear that? Do you hear my dog going nuts?
He's being a werewolf, obviously.
He's like pissed that I'm talking about this. I'm back. My dog comes into the kitchen now.
Something like I had a chat with the developer of WearShift because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't overlooking anything, because I thought that I saw a lot more in the game than was immediately apparent on the surface. And there's a lot of like very conscious design nuances at play that aren't immediately obvious to the player. But do go towards crafting a very deliberate kind of experience. Well, I think that does have room for tuning. I think it's kind of rare to see that level of depth in a game, in a jam like this.
I would agree with that. I have known the developer of the engine, Clipsy, for, well, I don't know how long I've known her, but we're friends on Discord and we've chatted a bunch. And
that's all that
her
matters.
engine, yeah, right. And like she's been sharing like the development of her engine with me, and it's incredibly cool to see like a game realized. I feel like probably it's because Clipsy knows her engine so well that they were able to like create as really such a polished title.
So they weren't spending like the first 6 days of the 7 just trying to figure out how to code a darn thing.
For sure.
That is kind of nice.
It also had some cool opportunities for either stealth play or aggressive play. So if you wanted to play stealthy, there was a bug that was making the level transitions not work properly, but the idea was that if you hid from everyone and survived long enough, it would transition to the next night automatically. Whereas the bug that we had stopped that from happening, and the only way you could get to the next night was killing everyone. But the idea of there having this, like, you've got a choice between these two sort of opposing approaches to handling the game, I think it's kind of cool.
Definitely.
I also would like to do a call out to Project Owl and the way they did their graphic design. I felt like there was a lot of work to do, like on the control feels. Like it just like the controls felt a little funky to me, but I really liked. It wasn't quite just pure vector art. It was like mostly vector art. It was vector-ish art, and I liked that. It was unique and different looking. It wasn't just a couple of bitmap sprites. It was funky looking, and I really dug the funkiness of it. I liked that. So Project Owl, I felt like that needed some more time also, but it had a lot of potential to actually be kind of rad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
had this kind of like 70s, 80s Robotron era feel to it, right?
Yeah, bingo. Yeah, it looks like a game you'd have played on a Vectrex if the Vectrex had thousands of colors. Like it was cool.
It kind of reminded me. It kind of reminded me of like a really old school like microcomputer kind of game,
or like Star Wars the arcade game, the original.
It
was that kind of vibe. The good one, the one that you can beat over and over and over again. So I thought Project Owl was kind of neat in that way. But one of the things that really jumped out at me, and again, every time someone wrote the phrase versatile verbs in here, I know that was a thing, but I hate those sorts of phrases. They make me want to punch things. So it to merit because it actually typed those words out, and that made me sad. But I really liked Wogie Wikey.
I didn't get a chance to play that. It didn't work for me.
Gardiner couldn't get it running.
It was. The idea is really simple. I mean, it's a roguelike, a very simple roguelike. They did a good job. They implement the line of sight thing that I like in roguelites, where you kind of have the here's how far you can see around the corner kind of thing going on. But what I liked is there's no fighting. They substituted the fighting aspects for like dance moves, like twerking and doing a dab and like they have like jello shots in the game, and the whole thing is basically you're on a super funky dance club and you're just like going from floor to floor and twerking at people. Like that's just the most ridiculous thing I could possibly think of, and so I have to give Wogie Wikey a high five for that because that's ridiculous.
Everything is hot pink as well. I think.
Yeah.
And all the verbiage is like, I don't know, maybe I'm just too much of a grumpy old man, but I couldn't understand a word of it, and just alien to me, and I had to like, I'm like, so what's a kami, and what does beauty mean in this context, and what does style mean, what does any of this mean? I'm just running around, then I got killed by a dad on floor 5. What does that mean?
You gotta go find your perfect daddy. That's the whole thing.
What does that mean?
You gotta do some jello shots until you're drunk enough. Then you gotta go to the bottom floor where you can find your perfect daddy. Come on, man. Get with the times. It's 2018.
You can throw vodka at a daddy, and then he'll be confused by your 80s dance moves.
No.
Oh man. I feel like I missed out completely.
Yeah. I saw the screenshots and the videos of it, and I'm like, this looks like it could be incredible. But I had the same error that you were having, Gardiner.
That's fine. One of the other ones that Crazy Battle. So I couldn't get Crazy Battle to run, but I wanted to. Did anyone else get that one to go?
It worked for me.
It's multiplayer only, and I didn't have anyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, didn't have enough gamepads to make.
How did it play?
Well, so I plugged in 2 gamepads on the stream, so I was able to at least have 2 characters on the screen. It worked a little bit like, I guess I can't really say that. I was going to say Super Smash Brothers, but it's kind of like you have 2 characters on the screen and you can shoot like Mega Man pellets, or you can charge up and shoot like, what was it? It was like a Beedrill from Pokemon. It was weird, but yeah, you could shoot a bee. Mechanoid bee at your opponent. It looks pretty cool. I mean, I wish that I had someone I could play it with, but I did add that to my list of the standout games that I enjoyed. Let's see here.
Wait. Before we go any further, can we give a shout out to Stickman's Journey?
Sure.
I gotta give a shout out to Stickman's Journey. If you have not played Stickman's Journey, you gotta do that. You gotta get in there and you gotta load up Stickman's Journey and really set aside like a whole day to dedicate to that massive journey that Stickman goes on. Does anything happen other than you can jump on the blocks?
But did I miss something?
Yeah, is that the only thing you can do,
just
right?
A room with blocks?
It's just a room with like a couple of black and white Super Mario style blocks.
Yeah.
But like you can jump on top of them. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty tight. Like, I just like that one.
Stickman. Did anybody play End User?
End User. Yeah.
What?
End User.
Which one is that one?
I thought I was getting an error when it launched because it opened my terminal, and I'm like, what's this error message here? You see a room, it's there's your filthy couch in the corner. It's like, wait, what? So it's an old like text-based RPG thing, and that was the other one that I spent like way too much time playing.
It's really solidly written, but it's also got this kind of surreal, self-loathing humor. It's kind of like a train wreck, you can't really stop playing.
Yeah.
I ended up going to hell because I murdered children with a razor blade.
That can happen, yeah.
Did you have audio? Because it has sound effects too.
I had the error, but I listened to all the audio clips individually to hear what that would sound like.
It's really good. Like it's just like the sound effects are, they're not overbearing, but they're present enough to support the atmosphere, and it's a really good job. Yeah,
I'm going to try to get that running with the sound because I think that would add to it quite a bit.
I played that yesterday, and I was enjoying it. I didn't really remember this morning how to play it. I never really played text adventures. That was my problem. Yeah,
it's words.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
It's text.
Right. Like the gimmick is that you don't just say look at the TV. You say
use eyes on TV. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like the verb thing, right?
It's recreating the more LucasArts style of the point-and-click adventure.
Yeah.
In a text adventure
but solely
interface.
Terminal text.
It's weird like that because if you go like more towards the old like AGI games and the old Sierra Interpreter games with the old text ones like King's Quest, but brought in the verbiage usage.
Yeah, it took that very literally.
Yeah.
Like
I liked that. I mean, that's kind of cool. It's weird and annoying, but cool. I like it. I approve.
It kind of got old a bit fast, where it was like its legs is plural, but hand is singular.
got old
fast.
Is plural, and
Yeah.
I kind of wish they had just let me write brain instead of brains.
right, use brain. Yeah, use brains.
Right. Did anyone have a chance?
I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Did anyone have a chance to play Gunship Tactical Munitions Capitalism?
Where'd that one go?
Did you?
Oh, yes.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one was. It could have been my favorite.
Really?
I love
They were
the
only-
concept. I really love the concept. Of this,
You know,
this sort of puzzle approach, and efficiency oriented.
It's just it was only like 3 levels, wasn't it?
There were only 3 levels.
Yeah, but you just had to try and grind to get the better score and try different strategies each time. That was interesting.
Right. Well, so there's this board game that I really love. I can't remember the name of it because I haven't played it in a couple of years, but like
It's totally your favorite, though.
it's not my favorite. It's one of my favorites. I can't remember the name of it, but
It's so
there's like
memorable.
well, there's like this little cardboard train, right? And you have like a guy character. Everyone has characters, and everyone has their own deck of cards, and like you like stack. Everyone takes a turn stacking an action face down from their cards, and then like you play out. You move your character after everyone's done planning their moves, and it's like I'm not explaining it very well, but it's like you have to like think through,
like pre-plan what moves you're gonna do, and
Right.
then it all plays out.
and then it all plays out, and like as people are doing
Express?
different things. Cult Express, that's what it is. I love that game so much, and it really Gunship reminded me of Cult Express, where you have to like plan out what you're gonna do and then remember what weapon you have coming up next. And I think it would be really interesting to have like more like a variety of different targets that do different things.
Yeah.
And you know, if you had,
I would
have
love
like
to see different motion mechanics for the different ballistics types. So you've got like
Yeah.
a slug goes straight, or maybe your explosive goes over the first thing that it hits or something, like that kind of thing, to encourage you to think differently about them. I think would make a big difference.
Well, that's a good idea. Yeah, make it a little bit more complex, more like Stickman's Journey. That's a good call.
Yeah, I really like that one.
Oh, can I ask you guys about Warrior Spirit? That game confused the dickens out of me. It caused me to have mental problems. Like, so
it comes with a disclaimer of I wanted to make something very big but ran out of time. All I got was the intro.
Yeah, I was really impressed by the intro, and then I was like, "What is the rest of this?"
So just so I'm clear, it was supposed to be hard to look at, right? Like that was the point. Like it was supposed to be something that you don't want to look at. Is that it?
I kind of got that from it.
Yeah, it's like lo-fi for uncertainty and fuzzy memeries and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but it's not even really.
It's an interesting concept.
I mean,
it was like glitch aesthetic. Like it seemed like the corrupt, like the sprites were corrupted or something. And I was wondering, I was like worried that it wasn't working on my computer.
Okay, so that's what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I think so. I know the screenshots. Yeah.
Well, then, Warrior Spirit, you nailed it. You did exactly what you were setting out to do. Then, I don't know. That game confused the heck out of me. I mean, it's no Stickman's Journey. That's for damn sure.
So, who's going to bring up Audible Dribble?
I was going to. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Can we play that on the video, because I want to hear you all play it. Actually, I'm not going to do it because I have my audio. But
you know what?
Well, I have the hot tips from the developer. I know how to get those high registers.
I just whistle. Just.
Oh, you can get them? I can't get them. I sat there going pew pew pew.
That's how I did it. I was like, hey.
Oh, I was sitting here whistling. My cat came running over because I was like tweeting like a bird to like because the ball would get stuck on the right side. So I'd like to try to like get it like whistling it to try and like bounce it back at the middle. And then I would just get like hey.
Developer says go psst, and that pushes it up into the registers.
That makes sense.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there you go.
It's that high of a.
That's really cool.
So like I think this game can get like extra bonus points for versatility of verbs if you play it by saying verbs.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Brian gets it.
Oh yeah, Brian totally gets it. By the way, every time we talk about verbs for a game, that game gets demerit. That's how.
That's not how this is supposed to work.
I'm a loose cannon, suckers.
I think this game had the most unique gameplay out of anything that we saw, and the most unique controls. So
and when it said, like, when I was reading the description, and it's like, control it with your voice. I'm like, oh, so there's some mechanic in the game where you use your voice, and I was like, oh no, it's actually just like an audio spectrum. And
yeah.
It would be cool.
So
like
it had trouble in that it was difficult to consciously control, and it was really susceptible to like background noise and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it would need some tuning of the algorithm for that. Like,
and it, like, gameplay was super limited. It was like, while the time is ticking down, get it in a square.
Yep.
And that's all you got. But all that aside, I think it's a brilliant proof of concept.
Yeah, I do too.
I totally agree. If I was sitting in a boardroom and I was saying, what would make a game that would be successful? I'd be like, well, first, let's make sure everyone in the room makes screeching noises. That would make it so it's just going to fly off the shelves right away. Good gosh.
I found when I was playing it on the stream, I couldn't get the ball off the right side of the screen. So I ended up like piping my theme song through my mixing board, and it was my theme song was controlling the spectrum,
just bouncing it all over the place.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool. All right, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it worked like some kind of weird gamified like audio visualization, and I thought that was really interesting.
I had this game.
If only you had the lyrics on the bottom, and then you had to sing whatever word the ball was bouncing on.
I had this game back in the day. It was like, and I was trying to remember what it reminded me of, and this is what it is. It was this little like piece of electronics that you plugged an audio cord into, and then it would make a game based on your music that you were playing, and like it would like generate the level based on the music that was playing. So like if there was a lot of bass, it would like have this one kind of enemy come in. If there's a lot of high notes, it'd have this other kind of enemy come in. So I think that's like an interesting concept to use like audio that the game itself doesn't control in order to like control the game.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. We were saying in chat that I could see something like that working for maybe you've got like a platformer and you've got to like bounce the ball along, like you got to roll it along places and like bounce it up onto platforms. And
do you actually want to play a game that way?
It'd be interesting. I'd rather play it with a piano.
Okay, no.
My voice, but
interesting and it might be doable. That doesn't matter. Do you actually want to play a game where you do that?
Like I said, I would play it with a keyboard, like a musical keyboard. I think, awesome.
That could be interesting. I mean, like if you were like trying to get like a hoop rather than just get the ball in the box. Like if you were trying to like play basketball like that, and you had like a piano or something, or you used a keyboard to control the different spikes. I don't know. I feel like that could be interesting if you had the time and the patience to develop it.
Y'all are crazy. Y'all are straight up tripping.
You've got to remember that I'm making a text adventure with first-person shooter-style controls, so I'm already way outside the box.
I mean, I'm not exactly a guy who sticks to classical video game types and whatnot here. I mean, outside the box is cool, but making noises to put a ball in a basket is the dumbest thing I could possibly think of. The fact that he did it is kind of neat.
It's like that. Cool. The game itself as a standalone game was like, it would get old pretty quickly. But I think the mechanic was the interesting part of it.
Right.
Right.
I mean,
right.
if like
It
think
sure
about,
did have verbiage.
It did.
well, what if we had like a platformer, right? And for the most part, you're playing it like a standard platformer, and there were certain parts where there were platforms that would like rise and fall based on audio input or something like that.
Yeah.
That sounds awful. If Nintendo
I was gonna say, sounds like something Nintendo would do.
It does. You
Yeah,
like
it
talk into
does.
the Wii controller or whatever. Like, yeah.
Nintendo has games where you blow into like the
Yeah,
microphone on a
yes,
3DS, and honestly, every time you have to do that, it's annoying as crap. Like nobody likes that, and Nintendo's even started to stop doing that because they realized that that's a dumb gimmick. If you had the choice of playing Super Mario Brothers or Super Mario Brothers, where in order to jump or move a turtle or something, you go ooh, ooh. What are you gonna do? I mean, come on. Can we change focus over to Laser Temple, because I want to talk about Laser Temple.
Laser Temple, yes. Okay.
I like Laser Temple. So, if for those of you who haven't tried it or looked at it, here's two things I liked about it. First, the gameplay was crazy simple puzzle. It reminded me a lot of like the early adventures of Lolo and a lot of those old school, just simple tile-based puzzle games. But what I liked is they chose a CGA graphics resolution and color palette. Like, awesome. Magenta and teal for the win. I'm like, this is fantastic. What's great is you could easily get that game up and running on an old DOS-based CGA machine, and it would run fantastically. I love that. So huge high fives. The gameplay is really simple.
It ramps up kind of nicely, though.
Yeah, it was good. I thought it was
like
great.
Increases in complexity, like right towards the end.
Yeah. Like I could see it, like if it continued onward and added maybe like 3 or 4 more block types and really just had like a good, 100 level like story arc to it. I mean, keep it like that. You could re-release that for a bunch of different platforms because it used CGA graphics. It would go anywhere. It's awesome. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, I love the detail.
They said that
of
the starting
sprites.
idea had a few more tile types that they wanted to add, but they sort of ran out of time. So.
That's how it always goes.
Yeah, maybe they'll expand that, and maybe we'll see that kind of larger scope thing that we'd. Because I think we'd all love to see it. Like,
I'd love to see more of that game for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I liked it. I dug it.
Did anyone else play Flopper?
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
We were talking about this on the stream a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I dig it. I love it. I love this idea of interacting with the controls in the kind of way that it asks you to, but I feel like the actions that the game gets you to do doesn't allow those control combinations to flow into each other nicely,
Right.
and I would enjoy it so much more if that was the case.
Yeah, I really struggled playing that because, like, I think part of it was that they went a little overboard on the versatile verbs because it's like you only used like three keys or something, but like
I think it was just 2 keys.
it was hard, or just 2. But it was just like it was hard for me to remember all of the combinations in which I could use them. That if you're jumping and then you dash, then you shoot sideways, but if you dash, but if you hold, it jumps, and like maybe I just didn't spend enough time like playing it and getting used to it. But I had a hard time remembering each of those controls.
I think if that level had one checkpoint in it, that it would have been a very, very different proposition.
That's true.
Yeah. I found myself like there was like a mental like hurdle between like what I had to do next. Like I understood like the double tap would make you jump higher or whatever the combination was. So I could do I could dash and I could jump really high, but then if I hit just the one button to do a single leap, I found myself like that was always a challenge to remember to do that. And so like when you got to that tower part where it was like the walls were really close and that was what they wanted you to do, I was like I always found myself struggling at that point, especially.
I just feel like just thinking about it from at least my own perspectives as a game designer, I'd be inclined to get rid of you hold down the button to move right, and it moves right really slowly. That's not really useful. You spend most of your time double tapping so that you dash.
Yeah,
so I would get rid of that entirely, and I would replace that with you hold it down and you just do your normal hop. Maybe the longer you hold it down, the larger your hop is. I don't know. But I think that by taking one useless piece of one useless control out of that equation, I think it would all kind of mesh together a lot more easily.
Yeah, it's possible.
I kind of have a different take on this game. So I kind of want to ignore the gameplay, game controls, and everything for a moment and focus on the fact that the game exists as essentially a series of extremely large four-colored blocks, right? So in that way, it's not all that much different. Hi, my son. Do you want to be on this stream too? And yet, the game is 12 megabytes in size.
That's
I just would like to point out that Doom is about 3 megabytes. I just would like to point that out right now. So this is literally 4 times the size of the full commercial version of Doom, and it's literally just 4 colors.
This is the entire Godot engine that you've got.
Yeah.
I would wager to say that then perhaps you don't
using
need
like
the
less than
Godot
1%
engine.
of Godot, right?
Yeah.
Is it pronounced Godot? I've been saying Godot in my head this whole time.
I have too. I think
Me
it is
too.
Godot, but I think of it like Godot, like
Like the
GoBots.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is
Today I learned.
Godot.
It's Godot, yeah.
Yeah.
But I like thinking about those simple graphics as well. I thought it had a really strong aesthetic to it. It had a really cool and distinctive style about it, which didn't come through on streams, or you don't notice it in screenshot thumbnails. But it's just kind of nicely done with what it was. You know, I felt like it did a lot with a little.
Yeah, I mean it's an Atari 2600 game, and that's like I say that in all dear
I also
reverence.
dug the vertical window. Like
I like
it
the
was
vertical.
different.
Yeah.
It feels like an Atari 2600 game that was built to try and be played on like a smartphone.
On a phone,
Except it's 12 megabytes in size instead of 12K, which is what it should have been. That bothered me a little bit, so I can't vote for this one in any way because it's way too big. If this had been, say, 1 floppy or less, it would get a vote from me just for putting together a good game. Sorry, I have weird requirements.
I really do.
If the game looks like it's on an Atari 2600, it better damn well fit in that amount of RAM. Goodness gracious.
Here I was. I had to deal with a user who was saying that they didn't want to buy a game, or they were concerned about buying a game because it was only 2 gigabytes, and that was probably meant that it wasn't very good quality.
Oh
Oh
man.
my god.
What a world we live in.
That gives me an aneurysm. Like my brain is bleeding right now.
It makes you wonder. It makes you wonder. So I would like to bring up Siege Trooper.
Yeah, I was about to do that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Siege Trooper was it was very interesting in the way that you like jumped and moved around, because you really only had left and right to move around, and then you could click to fire, and you could also jetpack yourself kind of like a rocket jump, right?
Yeah, that was fun.
You've only got one action in that, and that one action provides you with everything that you do.
Yeah.
Although I did find out
I think like
you can move with the arrow keys, which I didn't know the first time I played it. Because I was trying to like jump, like launch myself to move sideways. I was like, this is really hard. And then I realized you can.
I wish it had just a tiny bit more air control for your jumps. I mean, I appreciate that you're bound to whatever trajectory you set yourself on, but I just wish that I could pull up short sometimes. You know, like I'm like, I'm here. I'm just gonna make. I'm like so close. I don't need to land in those spikes.
Yeah.
I found myself like pulling off. Like I found the rocket jumps themselves to be rather uneven sometimes. Like at that first platform you got over just before the spikes, and like I'd rocket straight down and fly up, and sometimes I'd get high enough to feel like I could get onto the platform above, and some other times I never felt like I could reach it, and I was wondering like why. I didn't know if I was doing something different or if it was like not, if it was just inconsistent. I don't know if you guys had something like that.
I don't know, it felt consistent to me when I played. The thing that drove me kind of batty was that you maintain whatever inertia you had. Like if you've got like a lip here, if you're heading up this way, you come off the edge and you continue going whatever direction you were going before you hit the thing.
Funky.
That made some things hard to predict for me.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you go up around the right hand side for that cool maneuver around the back where you got to do like 3 rocket boosts before you touch the ground.
Yeah.
But there's something really cool about like flying through the air and blowing away a helicopter and a tank before you land.
Yeah, I like that. That was pretty cool. My only real complaint about this game is that I couldn't like whistle or make screeching noises in order to move my character around.
and there was no stick.
Right? No stick, man. I felt like there was more than just one small area. I'm like, forget it. It's just...
You really dug the way that
your
good. Power meter allowed you to switch between an incendiary that explodes on impact or something that's going to bounce around, and that was very clearly defined between the green and the red bars on the thing there. And I also dug that it had this like nice balance of combat and puzzle focus within. It was super short, but I think that one level was just like a really well structured example of what that game was trying to be.
Mm-hmm. For sure, I definitely got that as well from that. Did anyone play Kill All?
Yeah,
that was the one with
that's on my list as well.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Kill All. I found that to be that was the first example of a game that I played that hit the criteria of the jam where you could do. I specifically didn't say versatile verbs.
It took me a few moments to work out what was going on, but once I got it, I was like, this is really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did take me a while too. Especially, I think I played it with the keyboard first, and then I played it with a gamepad, and I felt like it worked a lot better with a gamepad.
Oh, I didn't get to try that. Yeah, that would be interesting.
It was really cool being able to like jump, just the way like different velocities and the way you were moving influenced the way you attacked. I thought that was really cool. Mm-hmm. I definitely would want more feedback. Like you're just a single little like square or whatever on the screen, and
they kind of fit a little bit with the like weird glitch hacker aesthetic thing that they had going on. Like I keep thinking like, oh, this would be cool if it was like, because it's a melee thing, right? Like it'd be sweet if there was swords and stuff everywhere. But then I'm like, no, that's really not what they're doing. You got like people's passwords in the background and stuff.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, the only thing I think I had trouble with was predicting, like, I would like launch off and jump and then not be able to see if I was going to land or not. Like I didn't know if there were platforms that I was going to be able to land on.
So this is something that Project AL suffered from a little bit as well, which is that everybody's using all of these like physics engines that are geared towards doing the kinds of physics things that you really don't want in these sorts of platformers. So when you're running down a hill, you want to be able to jump, and in this you can't because you're constantly falling and you're not connecting with the thing. So it was a little bit clunky on that side of things, but we talked about 2-Button Night and I think Wear Shift having like really cohesive identities, visual identities and stuff. I feel like Kill All pulled that together as well. Mm-hmm. Like not just visually but orally as well. Like its audio was pretty full on. Yeah,
and props to every like game that had all the all the different components, like the audio and the graphics and the gameplay that all mesh together. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
It's hard to like get those together, especially in a week-long jam. I'm just laughing at Brian.
Yeah, he's down there in the corner.
I'm just a really big fan of Kill All with its extremely advanced graphics being 19 megabytes in size. That was pretty tight.
So if I was to offer some more meaningful critiques of Kill All, I'd probably say that like we mentioned that like jumping feels a bit glitchy sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But also it's hard to read whether you're going to be damaged by an enemy and where the enemy has damaged you from. Like, it all feels like at that moment when the screen starts shaking, you have no idea what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Making that a little bit more readable. Like, don't get rid of the screen shake at all, because I love it.
I love the screen shake.
Yeah, like having some kind of directional indicator for where the damage is coming from, I think would help.
Yeah, well, that's why I mean, like,
understanding that impact. Yeah.
I think like more feedback is when I said that. I think what it was that there was no feedback, like from you, the player, or from the other characters on the screen. Like, even if it was, it doesn't have to be like a sword. You know, it could be like, you know, when you attack, you have like a slash like thing that happens on the screen that kind of juts out from your character.
An effect. Yeah.
Yeah, some kind of like
you could fade out the parts of that circle that aren't relevant to the damage zone that's being
just like directional.
Yeah, that would work too. But I did like that. I love that game.
You know, it was pretty short as well, like Siege Trooper. Like, it was as minimal as it could be, and explaining the things that it was trying to do. Yeah. I feel like if you're going to improve on it, I'd look towards, you know, tidying up that physics stuff so that the physics don't apply when you're attached to a platform, and like until you jump or until you fall, like you're doing your thing. Probably implement some like common platformer tropes where there's a like a zone after you fall off a ledge where you can still jump, that helps you have a bit more control over those kinds of things. But things like, I think that maybe like ledge grab could be a good fit for I always felt like I was like trying to stick to ledges as I was jumping around. I feel like maybe that would make me feel like I was enjoying the platforming a lot more. You have a lot more flexibility to miss as well.
Yeah, jumping felt like kind of weird in that game because like you could jump once from the ground, but if you hit the edge of a platform, you could jump off and then jump again.
Yeah.
And it was like a double jump, but you didn't have a double jump anywhere else. So I thought that was, it felt kind of glitchy, like the game didn't know if you had actually jumped off the ground when you jumped off the edge of a platform. And I thought that was, but it, you know, that also helped you recover a bit. So I wasn't sure if that was a feature or not. And now there's a dog.
Brian's son.
Yeah. You guys might not know this, but the Lunduke household is a very cuddly household, so we must cuddle when we do these things. So overall, this game was good. I think they were on the right track for stuff. It's like a bunch of these games. It's on the right track. But a week is hard to accomplish some of these things in. Yeah. And I'm pretty impressed with what they pulled off in a week. I thought that was pretty good.
And thinking as well that, like, for a lot of people, they've got day jobs, and a week is a week of evenings rather than, you know,
right. It's really just like one man day of work is really what they end up being able to put into it, and that's pretty impressive for it. I thought the game was pretty good. It didn't make my list, but that's just because there was a bunch of games that were also pretty good.
Yeah.
It was a bit big. Don't get me wrong, but
you didn't have hard drive space for it.
Just because you have the space doesn't mean you need to fill the whole thing up. Are you one of those people that I've got empty floor, let me put things in it until I have no more empty floor? No, that's not how it works.
I remember we got our 40 megabyte hard drive for our Amiga, and we were like, what? We are never going to fill this up. And the first thing I did was copy every single floppy we had to it and fill it up. It's like 40 megabytes. That's amazing. We're never gonna fill that up.
Oh my god, that's funny.
Did you have anything else on your list, Gardiner?
There were two other games that I have on my list that really stood out to me. I really like The Lord of Sands.
Here it is.
Yeah.
I really about The Lord of Sands for a minute.
I love The Lord of Sands. I love it in its like cute devil glory. Cute demon. Cute sandy demon glory.
It is. It's a cute sandy demon. And
little fat demon.
Oh my heavens. So the game controls I felt were bizarre. Like they just didn't feel quite right. Like, I mean, I get it. You know, you shoot with the mouse, you know, WASD to move the little dude around. It's pretty straightforward, but it just didn't feel quite right. The game is so simple. I know I've already harped on this, but it's 7 megabytes. If this game doesn't fit on a floppy, what the hell is wrong with the world we live in? However, the art direction on this I thought was fantastic. I thought it was cute looking. Yeah. I really dug the fonts that they used, which I know is a weird thing to say, but I felt like they did a nice job with that.
You know, Brian, there are fonts that are larger than 7 megabytes.
Not that I use, there aren't. But I did. The intro scene's great, you know, with actual like parallax scrolling. There's parallax in the intro screen. I mean, it's not like it's overly detailed background, but it looks cool.
This genuinely
there are 2 things that stand out to me.
Well, I was gonna say, like, this genuinely feels like a Vlambeer game, where it's simple, but there's something to the simplicity. I mean, and maybe putting it on that level isn't, you know, but in terms of like the game jam that we just had,
all of Vlambeer's games started as game jam games.
Yeah, I mean, I think that might be where I'm seeing a lot of similarity here, where it's like. Especially, what's the one where you're flying around and you have to like boost
Luftrausers?
Luftrausers, like that one is. I felt a lot of similarity between that and this. I don't know why, but it just from a gameplay perspective, I could.
I think like because this is a bullet hell game and Luftrausers has that aspect of like there's a lot of shit going on at once.
Yeah.
But I should say I have critiques of this game, but this game actually made my list. Like this game is one of the ones that I felt like it's a simple game. It doesn't do a whole hell of a lot, but what it does do, it's pretty well polished. I felt like there was a couple of things that could be improved on, but this one made my top 5 list. It's pretty good.
I really felt that the tank sprite wasn't as good as everything else. Like everything else has a high bar, and the tank sprite is just this flat thing. You know, you got the demon's arms are wibbling around, and they look fantastic.
It's a perspective issue. So like we're looking at the tank from a top-down perspective, and it's the outline of the tank, which makes it look very 2600-y. But we're looking at the rest of it from more of like a slightly tilted face-on perspective. Yeah. So that's where it threw me off. That it makes it then look like someone just got 2 completely separate pixel art packs that were meant to be never used together and used them in the same game. But I felt like if you change that tank to have like a little bit more fluid animation and to be the right perspective, I think it'd be a killer.
Yeah. I think the other thing, like just from a mechanics perspective, is you've got these 2 firing modes, right? One of them you care about, and the other you don't give a rat's ass. Yeah. You know, like the rapid fire has no purpose within the game. The only thing you care about is that charged up shot, and I kind of feel like if it had, because in a bullet hell game you have phases for your enemies that they go through so that you can go into and out of different kinds of patterns. I feel like having a phase in there, maybe where the hands are waving around or something, and you shoot them, or maybe little bats are flying out of the fat devil's rolls or something, and you got to shoot him out of the way with the little fast shots. Like I feel like giving that some purpose would help the game resonate heaps better.
Definitely.
And give a sense of like you're not doing the same thing all the time as well. Like you've got a chance to like take a break and do something different.
I think the fact that the charge shot auto fired as soon as it was charged like made it overpowered.
It's nice.
Well, I mean, it was nice because, but I think like
it felt good.
If you had to like, it did feel really good. But if you had to like pay attention to the how charged it was while dodging the bullets, I think it would have given you more incentive to just keep clicking rather than charge it up and then let go on time. You know what I'm saying?
Also, there are apparently several always safe zones in the game. I've got it up right now playing it, and I found a spot where you can just sit it there and just hold the mouse button down until you win.
Interesting. Leave it to Brian.
I noticed in the pattern that there were a few spots that seemed like they were fairly safe, and there were like no phases that specifically addressed those.
Yeah.
But you know that's stuff that you tune and you discover, and like that these kind of games go through a lot of iteration.
Yeah. Were there any other games that anyone wanted to talk about?
Did anyone play C##?
No, that's my brother's game.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, it's so broken.
I was gonna say, I love, like, I feel like, sorry, Brian, I feel like it stuck to the theme of our game jam pretty well, and then I just couldn't actually play it. I was like,
Yeah.
I see what this is trying to do, but I can't get it to do it.
Is your brother a Linux user, Gardiner?
Yes, well, I don't know if he is right now, but he has used it in the past, like as his daily driver.
Because
Nice.
I've seen this problem with Unity games before, and typically it comes from Windows-based developers who are using some boilerplate code they copied out of some tutorial somewhere, and
Yeah.
it's not really how the engine's meant to work, but it doesn't cause any problems on Windows, and it causes us problems on Linux. And what's happening is we have like the key repeat event, and it's firing the key down
Yeah, that's
every single
that can be
time.
what
So
it
you need
is,
to be able
yeah.
to hold space down, and you'll run as long as you hold it down, except it thinks you're
It's
matching
fun.
the space.
It thinks you're just sitting there, yeah.
Yeah. And
That
so,
could be what it was.
That could
other
be. I
one-
wasn't able to get it going either, but I loved the art style. Was very much remind me of N, which
Yeah.
I hadn't played in forever. Which that was a fun, ninja jump around type game. It had kind of a similar style to it. The Linux binary being 51 megabytes kind of annoyed the hell out of me, but I really liked the look and feel to it, and I really wanted to actually try to play this one.
Yeah,
It's like the kind of game I would actually want to play.
That's how I felt with that. I'm like,
N,
I could see the potential, but I just couldn't get it to work right.
Same.
Yeah.
N had a few re-releases, and I think the latest one is called N++, and that's what C#+ is sort of a play on.
Yeah. Definitely.
But there was a second one that your brother did as well, which I actually spent a whole lot more time with, which I can't remember the name.
Catablock.
Catablock, that's the
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And if you don't use, because again, it's got keyboard controls and it has the same problems, but it also
Yeah.
has mouse controls this time, and you can get.
That's what was going on. Okay.
I couldn't
without
figure
using
out
the,
how to play it. I honestly couldn't, even with the mouse control.
So you put the cursor somewhere, you hold down
Yeah.
the button and charge up a jump, and then
And
when
you
you let
jump.
go, it flies to the air. You collect all the coins, press all the switches, go to the exit. And then you can use Q and E to rotate, to navigate weird spaces or flip over an obstacle as you go through the air. And I found it like it was a nice set of challenges, but at the end there were places that were just too tight to get into, and I'm like, I could spend 3 weeks trying to get this right, or I could get through the rest of the game. You know, like,
Yeah.
but I enjoyed that one. I thought that was fun. It's not on my list, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah, my brother's the kind of guy who really likes the idea of people being annoyed with the games that he makes. So,
Nice.
Dear.
so like he has a game on Steam called I can't even remember what he called it, but I did a video about it, and like before he published it, I was like, bro, you need to like do this, fix that, and he's like, no, I intentionally made it that way so that people would be annoyed. I was like, that's not what you want to do, dude.
That's funny.
Dear.
But
So I had one more game
yeah,
that was on my list, which was Ving, and Ving is a nice game
Ving is a nice game,
and a
that's right.
recursive acronym.
Yeah,
And like on the surface, it doesn't really look like anything special, and I don't know, maybe it isn't anything special, but I had a lot of fun with it. It was a lot more than I expected it to be, and it presented some pretty neat challenges that I got through, and yeah, I had a ball.
And it was only 59K.
Yeah, that did limit a lot of brownie points, by the way. So I kind of agree. Ving is a nice game. There's not a lot to it, but in like a good way. It's a very straightforward game. Someone's like, I'm gonna make a nice game. I'm gonna make a respectable video game today, and this is what they came up with. And I'm like, oh, I support that. Nice.
I like the way that it provides you with increasingly difficult challenges. So you like kill 10 slimes, kill 10 ghosts, and then all of a sudden it goes get to the top of the screen in 25 seconds or 13 seconds. And you're like shit, and off you go. and then you do that for a little while, and then it goes okay, survive for 25 seconds, and millions of enemies appear, and you're like, oh, okay, now I need to think about the space in a completely different way.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really dig.
It did a lot with a little.
I agree. It did a lot with a little, and I love the fact it's like you said, 59K written in just C using SDL, not Unity Game Engine plus 14 different sub-licensed libraries for handling physics. No, the author just said, "The hell with that. I'm going to write a game myself, not rely on someone else's game engine that they already made and add in my own stupid sprites." He made his own thing, and I don't know who it is. But this person made their own thing. And it's
one
awesome.
second to acknowledge that part of that 60-odd K download included GIMP XCFs for every single asset.
Yeah, because the person clearly likes the open sourciness. I appreciate.
That's awesome. I didn't even know that.
But so did anybody play? How did you guys play through it to the end?
I got to the boss.
I didn't have time.
So there's a boss. After you survive for a long time, a boss appears. And it's a giant squid, and it has a whole bunch of different phases that it goes through as you damage it, and then eventually it like pounces on you and stuff, and you kill that. And I was like, oh, I've done the game. And then it said, kill everything was the next objective, and all of the trees and rocks and all of the doodads in the environment had faces on them and were coming after me.
Oh, that's cool.
It was
really
it was
awesome.
Beautiful. I love the shit out of that.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I like that.
I spoiled it, but it was a wonderful moment, and just thank you so much for that lovely
nice
surprise.
Game.
The last game that I'll talk about is Grenadiers, which I thought was a very interesting, very simple but very interesting, because you start out with your 4 guys, and like I learned in history class in like 9th grade, that's how they used to have war, where you just lined up and shot each other.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really cool. It was weird, but it was like there was like persistent like gun smoke on the battlefield.
Yeah.
And like
it was all about disposable human life and
war. I mean,
Perfect.
Right?
yeah.
I'm in.
War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
I thought
Say it again.
this game would be great as like a mini game in part of a larger game. Like it reminded me a lot of. Do you guys remember the game North and South? It's for the NES and a few other titles. It was a strategy game during the American Civil War, and the actual battle sequences were kind of similar to this in some ways.
Was it during the American Civil War or set during the American Civil War? They had their Atari
It was during the American Civil War, and it was kind of cool that way. I mean, this is a simplified version and a little bit different, but I like that. I felt like with a little bit of polishing and a little bit of sprucing up, this would make a great like part of a larger game.
It's kind of like in the second Zelda game, whatever that one was.
Oh yeah,
on the NES, where
the Adventure of
you're on the map, but then you go into the town, and then it like zooms in, and now you have like almost a completely different gameplay mechanic there. Something like that,
You're
where
a
it's
side
like,
scroller.
you have like a larger game, but then your battles are these like weird side by side
zoom in.
things or something.
Right.
That could be interesting.
It's kind of like like the Master of Magic series, or no, not Master of Magic, Heroes of Might and Magic 2, and those sorts of things, where you're up and above, and you're walking around, and then you boop, and you zoom in, and honestly, the layout of the battlefield is almost identical to Heroes of Might and Magic series in Grenadiers, and I thought that actually was kind of cool. I mean, it's tried and true, good job. It's pretty straightforward. 10 megabytes, which so it'll fit on say 8 floppy disks. Good Lord.
Dear.
cool. Oh, actually, there's one more game, and full disclosure, it was made by one of my top tier patrons, but D-Man Taiko is weird and interesting, and I'm a sucker for music games, so I thought that was pretty cool.
It looked really cool, but I couldn't get it to run, so I was bummed.
Oh, really?
But there were a lot of like weird and surreal and kind of out there things that were had that surrealness exacerbated by not being a whole thing, like thinking about overpowering odors or cheer. You know, like I love that glimpse into something that I don't quite get. that could be anything. It could be, like this sort of like it's a little mystery, and you could learn about it as you mess with it, and you walk away none the wiser. But I hope that all the people who participated, who are excited by their projects, have the opportunity to continue expanding on them and making them into whatever it was they wanted to make them into, and that non-ironically goes all the way to Stickman's journey. I want to see what Stickman's journey is. Yeah, I want to know where that goes.
And
it's more
on
of an
page.
internal journey. It's sort of a metaphorical, personal journey that you go on.
Well, on the page for their like they're talking about making their own like engine, like their own graphics rendering engine or something.
They're like rendering SVGs or something.
Well, yeah, like it's like a vector engine or something, and so that's like it's basically a tech demo for their like what they're working on, and that's really cool. I mean, there's a lot of games that were submitted that while they didn't like immediately impress me, like from the aesthetic standpoint, because I'm kind of a shallow guy, I really want to see more. I really want to see more of these games because I love weird, interesting concepts, and I
want to see like a tighter version of Giga Rabbit with like proper animations on there and a bit of sound and like
for sure. And the same goes for the that weird one that we were talking about earlier, where it's like the graphics were all glitchy. What was that called? I'm really bad with that.
Warrior Spirit.
What was it?
Warrior Spirit.
Warrior Spirit.
Yeah, Warrior Spirit.
Yeah, like, Warrior Spirit.
That was so weird, but I want to see more of that. I had a lot of fun, and I hope like you guys, had fun playing these games. Yeah, and I hope that everyone out there who participated had fun, because like, I want to do more of this, and I've already scheduled the next game jam. It's gonna happen. It's like the second Friday of April.
Second February.
The second February of November. No, I had a ton of fun doing that live stream. Was awesome, and thank you guys for agreeing to be judges. We're gonna have Wendell do a separate thing because he couldn't be here today, but I've had fun, and thank you guys so much for participating.
Yeah, I just would like to be on the record as Wendell is a massive slacker and a poser, and he like totally has terrible taste in video games. I'm just saying. He's not even here, so I'm just saying.
The views of Bryan Lunduke.
Friggin' Wendell.
The views of Bryan Lunduke do not necessarily reflect the views of Gardiner.
Disagree.
I'm hoping to go through and offer all of the participants some like sort of game developer type feedback on all of their projects, and maybe even do a write up of the event, looking at what kind of technologies people were using and how many of them open source and that kind of stuff. Like I think there's a lot of like cool information that we can get out of this kind of event.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. I completely agree. But yeah. That's it for now. Does anyone else have any games they want to talk about, or is that it? That's it.
Right. Spicy Meatball saves the day.
Yeah, that was kind of the winner of last year. That was really good. So that's it for now, guys. Thanks for watching. If you like the work that I do, you can head over to Patreon or hit me up on Twitter or do any of the things. You can subscribe to the channel. Yeah, if Brian's over there, he's actually right about that one. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody.
You can put a poo in an envelope.
I love you, Gardiner.
I love you too, Brian.
I know. Cuddles later, everybody.
Oh boy.
The Lunduke household is a cuddle household.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Man, that was super great.